we'll start the topic off with new Sentinels. So, as Bushy decided to leak to us, we got brand new PG Sentinels.
A lot of fun. We've already played with them a little bit. I definitely like how they help.
So their new skills now is basically the same as normal PGs, but you only have to discard if you have 2 or more cards in hand. So if you only have 2 cards and you have 2 PGs in hand, or 2 free PGs.
It's a lot of fun.
That helps tremendously. And I can tell you that now. Like, it fixed all the problem with guarding. Like, I was upset about the shield values and everything because it's like getting steamrolled and steamrolled and steamrolled. But wow, that made a big difference in playing, especially with some of our videos. Like, you watch the Top Deck Heroes video with Keter and Dark States. You can notice how far those games went just because of the perfect guards.
I've already played a little bit. I did most of my playing with Dragon Empire, but I was able to hold my overdress cards a lot longer because I would be able to use a nullify to protect, where otherwise I'd need 2 to 3 cards to block something. It helped keep me in there for the late game.
Yeah, and I'm curious on how this is going to translate later, because normally when you were guarding, you had to try to save your PGs for last for the big attack. And you'd be guarding and guarding and guarding and trying to save your hand because you want to have cards, resources for the PG. Now you don't have to worry about that. You can just guard away. You can win the pass, or 5k guard, 5k guard, 5k guard, and then null, but after they draft check with the Vanguard, which helps a lot, honestly. Unless the only time even if they hit an over trigger, it's still amazing. You have 2 PGs in hand, that's all you have. You guard the over trigger.
I've actually done exactly that. I like that it is a grade 1. It's the first time I've used a grade 1 Sentinel in a deck and kept it.
I do think, though, that people are going to be upset about that, though. Because whenever we had the draw PGs, it added a lot of deck flexibility for people to make things. I think the ride deck's going to mitigate that a little bit, because now that you have the ride deck, you don't have to have 4 copies of the cards that are in your ride deck. You only have to have them. Like Crew, it's going to help some of the effects, like Zorga, the new stuff that he has. They all gain like 5k and 2k and make good numbers whenever you play an order. So you want to run 4 copies of those in your deck. But say like the Overdress deck, the Dragon Empire one, you're probably just going to run them in your ride deck. You're probably never going to run them and like 4 copies of that in your main deck.
I'm never going to keep the priestess. They're there specifically for writing, and once I have more stuff to work with, I'm probably going to take the 3 that are in the main deck out of each of the grade 1 and 2.
But then again, it comes to like that's where you would have had your draw triggers would have filled up the space. Well, now you have possibly more, because that's like 6 cards technically if you take the grade 1s and the 2s out over the 4 cards that the draw triggers probably provided, and now you get to keep the grade 1 draws or whatever.
The grade 1
Or not,
PGs.
grade 1 PGs, yes.
I do enjoy that they're grade 1s. I've come into Vanguard and out of it for work for different reasons, and every time I've come back, guarding has changed. I left and then came in, and then draw PGs existed, and suddenly the grade 1s were out of my deck so that I could use the draws. And then I came back, and there were crit PGs for the high shield value, and I just saw no disadvantage to running them. Everything I've ever played runs at least 4 crit.
Yeah, and that's what a lot of people are going to notice real quick as the sets progress, is like you're not locked into having to run draw triggers in your deck now to the perfect guard.
I've been thinking exactly that. Probably not going to run them in Dragon Empire.
Because now you can run flexibility over, I want to run fronts, I want to run crits, so on and so forth. I mean, you can still run draws if you want them, they're there, but there's still the same old regular draws with 5k and 5k shield.
I do also like that as grade 1s, they're grade 1s worth guarding with, because, again, the 5k shield value on normal grade 1s hits guarding a little bit harder.
One more thing I want to talk about with these Sentinels before we move on to the next subject is the art.
They all look fantastic.
So the fun thing about these, and I noticed this with the over triggers, is that if you looked back at the premium collections, the progenitor dragons, they were very much a mix, like the Xeroths, of all the nations into one. They kind of encompassed everything in that nation into one unit. And I feel like these are very, very similar. Not so much for Dragon Empire, because, well, I guess if you count the stash around it as the ninja aspect.
Yeah, it gets a little bit of it.
But the others definitely feel that. Like, Dark Zones definitely feels like an amalgamation of everything in there. Brandgate definitely feels like that. It looks a lot like the Progenitor, actually, when we got it.
Oh, yes, it does.
The Horse Dragon definitely is Keter Sanctuary.
It's at home.
And there's definitely flower aspects. There's definitely like an animal aspect to the Stoicheia. So I feel like that fits too. But it definitely has that progenitor look to these.
It feels like it'll fit in any deck, no matter how you try to play that nation.